Have you ever walked away from a conversation with a guy at the office, or maybe a relative, feeling like you've just run a marathon but, in waist-deep mud? Man, we've all been there. Your shoulders are completely tense, your energy is just zapped, and suddenly the whole world looks a little bit grayer. Well, welcome to today's Explainer. I am really glad you're here with us because we're diving into something we all deal with, but rarely actually understand the biological impact of. We are talking about the anatomy of negativity and the science of gratitude. So as you watch this animation, I want you to ask yourself a serious question. Are you letting a chronic complainer literally rewire your brain? See those dark, tangled vines slowly wrapping around that brain? That is exactly what's happening when you're a captive audience to constant negativity. We're not just talking about a minor social annoyance here. We're talking about actual physical architectural changes to your neural pathways.
Okay, let's run through this list because we need to know exactly what we're up against, right? Spotting them early is your absolute first line of defense. So, a chronic complainer has this persistent focus on the bad. They complain about everything, the traffic, the coffee, the weather, you name it. They repeat the exact same grievances in this exhausting loop of rumination. And if you try to offer a fix, no way. They reject every single solution. They wear the strong victim mentality like a badge of honor, always seeking endless sympathy. Their energy is draining, and worse, it's highly contagious. They're totally pessimistic, using catastrophic, mean-spirited language like everyone is completely incompetent. And finally, they rarely if ever show any gratitude. Honestly, just reading that list out loud is exhausting, isn't it?
But hey, don't worry, we're not navigate this together. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by spotting the chronic complainer, then we'll uncover the toxic brain drain they cause. From there, we'll build up your defenses by setting healthy boundaries before introducing the scientifically backed gratitude antidote, and finally, showing you exactly how to rewire your brain for good. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, spotting the chronic complainer, recognizing the habit. Because look, let's be real, we all complain. If I drop my phone and completely shatter the screen, I'm going to complain about it. But what we're talking about today is a destructive, repetitive pattern. Notice the stark contrast here between healthy venting and chronic complaining. Healthy venting is just a temporary emotional release. It helps process feelings, and most importantly, when you're done venting, you're open to perspective. Chronic complaining, on the other hand, fixates entirely on what is wrong. It aggressively rejects solutions. There's zero interest in actually moving forward. It's not a cry for help, it's a habit that has completely hijacked how they communicate. Which brings us to section 2, the toxic brain drain, the invisible physical damage. Now this is where things get really serious. Because the true danger of these complainers isn't just that they ruin your lunch break, it's the invisible, physical damage they're inflicting on your biology. To grasp this, we've got to talk about neuroplasticity. Basically, this is your brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections. The golden rule in neuroscience is neurons that fire together, wire together. As you watch this animated neural pathway grow thicker and darker with every single pulse, I want you to imagine that pulse as a complaint. Repeated complaining actually strengthens negative neural pathways. The brain literally starts defaulting to spotting problems instead of finding solutions. For them, it becomes physically easier to complain than to feel optimistic.
And this brilliantly illustrates why it affects you. Meet your mirror neurons. These are brain cells that react not only when you perform an action, but also when you simply observe someone else doing it. They are the exact reason why emotions are so incredibly contagious. When you're sitting there, just listening to a chronic complainer, your mirror neurons are firing in sympathy. Their stress, their negativity, their victim mentality, it is literally jumping right into your nervous system.
So how long do you think it takes for this to cause real damage? The answer is 30.
That's right. Research at a Stanford University shows it takes just 30 minutes of listening to chronic complaining to physically damage your brain. Look at this internal animation here. As you listen to all that negativity, your brain floods with the stress hormone, cortisol. And you see that area highlighted in red? That is your hippocampus, the part of your brain that handles memory and problem solving. 30 minutes of exposure to constant complaining causes the hippocampus to literally peel back and shrink. You are losing your ability to solve problems just by sitting there and being a good listener. Crazy, right?
So let's fix it. Section 3, setting healthy boundaries. This is your survival guide. The hard truth we all have to accept is that you cannot fix a chronic complainer. They have to actually want to change. But you absolutely can, and you must protect your own peace. So let's open up the boundary playbook. Step 1. Limit exposure. Gradually reduce hangouts or just keep them super brief. Switch a long coffee date to a quick walk where complaining is physically harder to do.
Step 2, set boundaries. When they start spiraling, politely but firmly interrupt them and ask, I hear you're frustrated. Do you want to brainstorm some solutions? If they say no, just excuse yourself. Step 3, and this one is my personal favorite, be a gray rock. Give minimal, incredibly boring responses. Just say, wow, that sucks. Don't give advice. Don't match their energy. Starve the habit. And finally, step 4, fully distance. If someone is being a total emotional vampire, enforce a time limit on their wallowing. Life is way too short, and your hippocampus is way too valuable to let someone else shrink it.
Okay, Section 4, the gratitude antidote, creating a neurological shield.
Let's just take a deep breath and slow things down for a second. I want to be crystal clear here. We are not talking about gratitude as some fluffy, toxic positivity cliche. No way. We're talking about hard neurological science that acts as a literal shield for your brain. Look at the comparison between these two brains. On one side, we have the complainer's brain, absolutely bathed in high cortisol, suffering from a shrinking memory center and dominated by high amygdala reactivity, which just keeps them locked in a fearful, anxious victim mode. But on the other side, the grateful brain, flooded with high dopamine and serotonin, which are your brain's natural reward chemicals. A grateful brain builds a strong prefrontal cortex for way better emotional regulation. It actually increases gray matter, and it creates immense psychological resilience.
And the data backs this up beautifully. By intentionally noticing and expressing thankfulness, you're activating those reward centers we just talked about, and that completely interrupts the anxiety loop. It leads to nearly a 7% increase in overall life satisfaction and an 8% reduction in depression and anxiety. This is a targeted biological strike against the exact rumination that complainers get trapped in. And look at how this impacts physical survival. This is an absolutely astonishing statistic. One major study found that individuals who practice higher levels of gratitude showed a 9% lower risk of mortality over a 4-year period. 9%! That's largely tied to cardiovascular health. Why? Because practicing gratitude physically relaxes your parasympathetic nervous system. It lowers your heart rate, drops your blood pressure, and sends a clear signal to your body saying, hey, you are safe.
Let's bring it home with Section 5, rewiring your brain, building upward spirals.
See, complaining creates a downward spiral that just sucks people in. But gratitude? Gratitude creates an upward spiral that actively repels toxic energy and attracts positive, solution-oriented interactions. A massive 2025 meta-analysis, we're talking 145 studies across 28 different countries, confirmed exactly this. Gratitude interventions reliably make positivity your brain's default setting. This isn't just a nice idea, it's a globally recognized, evidence-based antidote. And honestly, the best part? It compounds over time. Just finding 3 to 5 things a day to be thankful for starts laying down brand new healthy neural pathways. You are literally building a stronger, more resilient brain day by day.
I really want you to take a second and let this quote sink in. In a world full of complainers, gratitude practice is your personal shield and superpower. It absolutely does not mean you ignore real problems. It means you shift your focus, you preserve your cognitive function, and you conserve your energy so you can actually go out and solve those problems. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on. Whose energy are you absorbing today, and how will you rewire your brain tomorrow? Remember, your mind is your single most valuable asset. Guard the door, use that gray rock method when you have to, and start laying down those pathways of gratitude. You've got the tools now, let's go use them.